You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hi, everybody, and welcome into the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. I am Sam Dykstra, and I'm only Sam Dykstra this week. As you can imagine, this is a very, very busy time across baseball and across minor league baseball in particular. My co-hosts Benjamin Hill and Tyler Mon are both out across the globe doing different things. Ben has been on the road this week, as he typically is around this time of year, visiting brand new ballparks, not only for him, but also for just minor league baseball in general. He got to stop in with the Knoxville Smokies. You'll hear a little bit about that later. Tyler is currently out on a European vacation with his lovely wife, Beth. It was Tyler's birthday last week. Happy birthday to him. I don't know if I want to share what age he turned, but let's just say it was a very big birthday, and that is why they are celebrating in the way that they are. Can't wait to hear more about that trip and where their adventures have taken them next time he's back on the show. But for now, you just have me. I also just came back off the road from Frisco, Texas. I also made a stop in San Antonio to see the missions. A big driver of that trip was the MLB Pipeline Prospect Showcase, which was a game that we broadcast on MLB Network on Tuesday between the Frisco Rough Riders and Tulsa Drillers. Frisco Rough Riders taking that game. It was such a phenomenal game and an experience to be a part of. We've done something like this in the past with the MLB Pipeline. We used to call it Game of the Month. Last year, we shifted the branding to Prospect Showcase. This year, we're trying to expand it even more and get these games onto MLB Network. So I can't thank the great people in Frisco enough, specifically Zach Bigley and Tyler Danberg, their two broadcasters there, who welcomed me into the booth for most of the game. There was a time, you may have seen the clips, you may have seen pictures, I did go out to the Lazy River in Frisco. We called a couple innings from out there. It was an absolute blast. It was a unique opportunity. We wanted to take advantage of it. I didn't quite know how that was going to work and how that was going to go, but shout out to the Rough Riders for having that as an opportunity, making all the logistics happen. And guess what? A homer was hit over the Lazy River while I was out there. I was not able to get over there. It was a few dozen feet to my right. But it was also hit over the river, so it would have been a very difficult play. But just, it was such a unique opportunity we had to take advantage, and credit to them for making that work and just for welcoming me with open arms and helping bring minor league baseball to MLB Network. Like we said, we're trying to expand this opportunity, get as many eyes on the minor league baseball product as we can. A big driver of that was Sebastian Walcott, who's a top 10 overall prospect for us at MLB Pipeline, the top prospect in the Rangers system. Got to catch up a little bit with him. There's an interview with him on MLB.com right now, and I spoke to him after the game as well. Only 19 years old, signed out of the Bahamas, so he's part of that revolution. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm is a big name that you've heard plenty of, and also on the show in the past, from the Bahamas. But there's more coming. Right, like it's not just Jazz Chisholm. There's a lot more talent from the Bahamas coming, and Sebastian Walcott has the highest ceiling of any of them. To be honest with you, I mean, it might even be higher than Jazz Chisholm's was. Certainly when he was a prospect, but Sebastian Walcott, a big shortstop at 6'4". There are evaluators out there who assume he's either going to move to third base or right field because he's got a cannon of an arm, but he uses that size to produce really good power, really strong exit velocities. Reached a couple of times on Tuesday, but also stole 3 bases. He's an above-average runner. He uses those long limbs to eat up grass or eat up dirt, wherever he happens to be using that speed. But it was fun to watch him play. He did start at third base, which I believe at the time he had only done 7 times this year. The Rangers are trying to include that in his rotation 1 or 2 times a week now. just to get him exposed to that. Obviously, they have Corey Seager at third base at the top level, or at shortstop, I should say. Josh Young is at third base. But, just to increase his versatility a little bit, you never know where that spot is going to be for Sebastian Walcott. Again, only 19 years old. He's holding his own at Double A. Like, he has been an above average hitter if you look at his WRC plus. But still a little bit more time. One thing he talked about consistently was, really cutting down on the chase numbers. That's happened this year. Honing in on his zone, trying to have a more mature approach. And, we'll see where things go from here. They're certainly trending pretty well. It was good to see him at third base. He looked, I don't want to say natural. There's still some reads off the bat that I think he's still getting used to. But in terms of making plays, balls hit to him, decisions he's making at third base, they were pretty strong. And one thing that stood out to me is that I think it can be easy to rush plays at a new position. You want to make sure you get the ball across the diamond to first base. You want to get it out of your hands pretty quick. But because of that rocket of an arm, he even said this to me after the game, like, I know I have it in my back pocket. If I need it, I'll use it. But otherwise, just slow things down, make things easy, make the play in front of me. So we'll see where things go for Sebastian Walcott, but it was good to check in with him. Tons of content from that game. Also, an interview with Mitch Bratt, who's having a phenomenal season. He was third in the Texas League in ERA when I talked to him in San Antonio on Sunday. He is another one of the Canadians that are really up and coming right now. I mean, he talked about Jonah Tong, a Mets prospect who's now a top 100 prospect for us. They were 1 year apart, but Tong is essentially following Mitch Bratt's timeline. Mitch Bratt went to the Georgia Premier Academy, went to the MLB Draft League, then was drafted by the Rangers. Tong did all of that 1 year later. And both of those guys are having breakout 2025. So we talked about that. Also, tons of Canadian talent coming through the game right now. I mean, we've seen Denzel Clark and what he's doing with the glove for the Athletics. Tyler Black is another one for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's been banged up for a lot of this year, but former top 100 prospect for them. The Naylor brothers, who are cousins with Denzel Clark. It's going to be a really interesting 2026 Canadian World Baseball Classic team, and we'll see if Freddie Freeman rejoins that team. I mean, he's played for them a few times now, but that could certainly be an upstart country next year in the WBC. Mitch Bratt participated in the 2023 version, got roughed up in his one appearance, but he'll be a different pitcher if he comes back around. And while we're on the topic of the WBC, I asked Sebastian Walcott about that as well, potential for him to play for Great Britain. He said there are conversations going on right now, but it's possible he does that too. So the WBC continues to grow in stature. Obviously, nobody can tell you that better than Tyler can. So maybe he and I will pick up that conversation when he's back. But yeah, fun time in Frisco and San Antonio for sure. Just a couple other prospect topics to touch on real quick while we're talking about it. Chase Burns debut against the Yankees on Tuesday. Got roughed up a little bit later on, gave up a homer to Ben Rice, but out of the gate, striking out the first 5 batters he faced, 6 strikeouts in his first 2 innings. The stuff was as advertised. I mean, it's a really lively fastball. It's a really special slider. The way it dives and plays off that. He kind of has like a trebuchet delivery. It's a little bit over the top, but guys couldn't hit it at high A. They couldn't hit it at double A. They couldn't hit it in his brief stint in triple A. And now, he's been another one of those guys who's come up this year and dominated out of the gate. Terry Francona talked about the scout who brought him into the Reds organization, the number 2 overall prospect or number 2 overall pick in the 2024 draft. And he said, I want to go kiss him on the mouth. Obviously, everybody in Cincinnati is super excited about adding Chase Burns. He could be their ace moving forward. We'll see. Obviously, Hunter Green kind of has that designation right now, but Andrew Abbott, homegrown arm, has been pretty good. Nick Lodolo has been pretty good. Rhett Lauder is still on the comeback trail, but we obviously think high of him. He's been a top 50 prospect for us. Chase Petty, I know, has been up and down, but he's got really, really good stuff as well. It's time to get excited in Cincinnati. I know it's a loaded NL Central right now, and the big race right now at the top is between the Cubs and the Brewers. But man, the Reds got something going there, and Chase Burns could certainly be a big time addition for them heading into the second half. So keep an eye on that. And then Jacob Mizorowski, speaking of the NL Central, out dueling Paul Skeens the other day. that's a matchup we could see consistently over the coming years. Jacob Mizorowski, again, touching 102. That slider is absolutely incredible in the mid 90s. He's got a curveball that coming into the year, I think people thought was his best breaking pitch. And he's taking steps forward with that changeup too, giving guys something else to think about with that. The big question is this control going to hold? I mean, he walked four in his MLB debut. It's since come down a little bit since then. We'll see where the command and control end up, but like right now, everything we were seeing in the minor leagues, I think is even, I don't want to say has taken a step forward, but it's been the best version of Jacob Mizorowski in the major leagues. And this is something that Milwaukee Brewers fans have waited for a long time. It's just, was he going to be wild? He hasn't been so far. The fact that that game against Skeens on Wednesday was highly touted. I believe it was sold out. It might have been the biggest crowd in Milwaukee this year, and it was a day game in the middle of the week. People really showed out for that, and Mizorowski followed up and did that as well. One other thing I want to shout out from that game, just more from a personal level, that I thought was really neat, was that he was wearing customized shoes for his father. They had a logo, a sign that was for Parkinson's awareness. They were customized cleats for Parkinson's disease. His dad has Parkinson's, so that's something that obviously weighs heavily on him and something he wanted to honor for his father, Tom. It was a red rose, and it said Parkinson's disease, but then it had his dad's initials, TM, or not a rose, a tulip, I should say, a red tulip, the official symbol of Parkinson's. So pitching with those cleats and putting in that performance makes it all the more special for the guy they call the Miz. So with that, I want to send it to one off-field thing real quick here. One thing that you might have seen on social media, and it might be coming to a minor league ballpark near you, is the world's most autographed baseball. Now, this is just one giant baseball, but they're sending it across all of minor league ballparks this season and MLB's New York City headquarters. So I kind of hope I'm here to sign this. But they're trying to set a world record for most signatures on a baseball. You can look up more information about this on milb.com/signtheball. But it's been to a couple locations already this week. It was in Indianapolis on Tuesday. It'll be in Fort Wayne on Thursday, the day I'm recording this. So it'll be a little too late if you're in Fort Wayne, but then it's also going to Toledo on June 28th, Dayton on July 1st, Louisville on July 3rd, and Columbus on July 5th. The rest of the schedule will be there, like I said, on milb.com/signtheball. But it's 8 feet in diameters. It weighs 1,200 pounds. It's sculpted out of foam, fiberglass, a steel armature core, and automotive clear coat. So this is going to be something you might want to get your autograph on here. What I find pretty cool is that actually on this website, there is a ticker for how many autographs are on the ball. Right now it stands at 561. Obviously that's going to only increase from here when they say thousands of autographs. It'll be fascinating to see how people try to get things to fit. My only piece of advice for this would be, don't try to be the John Hancock of the most autographed ball. Like, let other people have their chance and try to get it. Like, don't have your name. I'm not going to put Sam Dykstra in size 1000 font, right? The whole fun of this is getting as many autographs as we can on it. You don't have to do it in tiny type either. Make sure you can find your name on there, and I'm sure it's going to make for a great picture. But, just throwing that out there. Don't try to take up too much space. We're trying to get as many autographs on this thing as we possibly can. So that's just a brief recap of what's happening both on the field and off the field from my perspective this week. It's a 2-interview week on the show before the show. The first one I will bring to you here is from my trip to San Antonio, because I talked to the Frisco Rough Riders a good amount, but making the trip to San Antonio to see the Rough Riders before the game on Tuesday, I also wanted to speak to somebody from the Mission. So I got manager Luke Montz, who has experience both in the San Diego system and in the Boston Red Sox system. He managed some of the lower levels there. Now he's with AA San Antonio. So he's got a good breadth of managerial experience. He's also played around a bit. He first debuted in the major leagues back in 2008 as part of the Washington Nationals system. Didn't get a ton of run in the majors, only 23 games total. So maybe I might circle back to his minor league career here at the end. We don't have a Name That Dude segment this week because it's just me, but we'll revisit the minor league career of Luke Montz because it is varied and all over the place in a very good way. But he brings that depth of experience to the San Antonio Missions. The Padres are a fascinating system to work in. As we discuss, they are a team that is willing to get aggressive with prospects. They often send them up straight from AA to the majors. They've actually done that twice so far this year already with David Morgan and Bradley Rodriguez. So, that's one thing we touch on is like, what is it like to be a AA manager who's sending that message? Obviously, a lot of AAA managers have to be ready to send guys up to the major leagues and get to share that fun moment. But how does Luke Montz do that? And we also get a little bit into some of the other notable Padres prospects that are there with the Missions and have been there through the first half. So here is my conversation with Luke Montz, and then we'll send it to Benjamin Hill after that with his report from Knoxville.
When you want your spring break to feel like and your kids' pool day to feel like and your hotel bed to feel like and room service to feel like, because at Hilton, hospitality feels like
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
it matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
Hey, everybody, just to get this interview started, my first question to Luke Montz had to deal with the night before. I was talking to him on Sunday. The previous night in San Antonio, the Missions had walked off against the Frisco Rough Riders 3-2 on a hit by Brandon Valenzuela. If you are a Padres fan, you might know that name. He's somebody who used to be a top 30 prospect, has fallen off a little bit because of the bat, but is having a breakout offensive season this year with a 797 OPS. So for him to deliver that walk-off hit was just the latest in a series of highlights for him offensively in 2025. So this first question is me asking Luke about Brandon's night, the previous night, and just what he's done this year offensively. Just kind of take me through last night. I mean, Brandon walking off like that. What have you seen from him lately, especially offensively, as he's taken over that catcher position with Ethan Hurt?
Yeah, just a lot of growth from that young man. A guy that got to the AAA level last year. Knows the things that he has to work on to polish up his game. The most important being the guy behind the plate, being a catcher, and you're labeled a catcher, as well as But what we've seen so far is at-bats. Two at-bats have gotten a whole lot better. He doesn't throw a lot of at-bats away, where last year you just saw some kind of ugly, uncompetitive ABs from him. It just kind of felt like he was just, if he fell behind, maybe he had no chance to get a two-strike base hit and stuff like that. So you're starting to see a lot more competitive ABs from him. You're starting to see the moments where he wants to be in the moments that you saw last night, So just a lot of growth. It's really helped his game behind the plate. He's really done a good job of separating offense from defense, vice versa, defense from offense, and really just growing as a whole as a catcher into a catcher that can hit pretty well.
Yeah, and when you're talking about those at-bats he was taking last year that were uncompetitive, do you feel like that was him pressing, just being two spots away, like you said, somebody trying to get to El Paso?
Yeah, possibly, and it just seems like almost where he thought that, if I'm going to move up, maybe that young-minded guy, it's going to be my bat. Well, if it's going to be your bat, you might want to play another position. Again, going to you and knowing what we're a catcher, and that's what we talk about, Valley. We're a catcher. I how long it's going to take you to understand that, but you're going to get called up as a catcher because you can control a scoreboard, game management's perfect, and that's all pitch calling and working with your pitching staff and winning ball games at the major league level. I don't think you're going to get caught up and hitting a four-hole for the Padres, So just him understanding that and just say, you are a good catcher that can hit, so how do we polish that up and hone your game as be a real good hitter, offensive threat, but be even a better defensive guy, and I think he's just starting to let that all sink in his head, and we're seeing it all grasp and put together now.
Yeah, and Jagger Haynes too. I mean, ERA is below 2, I think, his last 5 starts. How have you seen him adjust as the season's gone on?
Yeah, just talking to our pitching coach, Jeff, and I, just from me, the 2 biggest growth guys early this summer so far are him and Brennan Nett. You saw it last night. You give up a 0-2 leadoff homer to the first batter of the game, and then it's just pure dominance the rest of the way. Pure competitiveness the rest of the way. He just went out there. As easy as that could sound, things can go south real quick. Young guy in AA, leadoff homer. We're already looking at it. Oh boy, here we go. And also to throw on top of that, we're in a big playoff push here. So he gets to go out there and experience that playoff atmosphere and do that. And you got to see what he did. I mean, he just mixed, he matched. He competed with his fastball. He threw pitches in the zone. He fell behind. He went right back at hitters, to a pretty good lineup where guys could hit 1 through 9 in this lineup, So the growth from Jagger Haynes from start to where he was last night has just been a 180,
So do you feel like it is more approach-based than stuff-based? Like, is there anything in terms of his arsenal that he's...
No, the same thing. He's just a left-handed guy that's got some good pitches. It was just a lot of growth in between the ears when the season started. Not saying necessarily some immaturity, just, hey, this is a different ballgame. AA-'s he's coming from high A, and this is a different ballgame. You got some guys that can hit in this league. He got the grasp of understanding some guys spit on stuff in this league. You might think that's a call strike. You might think you're going to get a swing and miss on a 2-0 changeup that you might have gotten high A. These hitters 1 through 9 will spit on that and take you to 3-0 counts. So I think the growth of understanding game calling, pitch selection is really the growth that we've seen. Controlling the things that he can control on the mound, his body language is probably the biggest that we've seen out there of let the game play out. You give up a homer, get the baseball back. Do those things right where, early in the season, it was a lot of ugly body language, maybe some complaining, stuff like that. But so far, props to him because he's cleaned that up and is on his way to pure dominance right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Nett, too. I mean, 18 strikeouts the last 2 starts. What have you seen growth out of him?
Yeah, the same thing. The 6 inches between his ears has really just opened up. Just some really deep conversations with him. And, myself as his manager, Jeff, our pitching coach, just, the besides the on-field physical stuff of throwing the ball, pitching, let's slow the game down and maybe learn some things of what we just talked about, mound presence and honing the game in and taking a step backwards. Have you ever thought this and that, and controlling the run game where, I'm huge at doing that, of helping these pitchers control the run game, where he almost had no concept of, Skip, why are we doing that? Why are you pitching out? We threw a guy out. Why not pick there? And we picked the guy off, and he just took a step back and really grabbed a breath of fresh air. And if you allow us to let you do that, Ned, your game as a pitcher, your 97, 98 in the tank, your off-speed pitches is going to take you to the big leagues, So that's the biggest we've seen from him is the mindset of it. You go out there and pitch and let us help you do the things around it, So we've seen a lot of growth from him as well.
Yeah, and you talked about how stuff's going to play in the major leagues. This is such an aggressive organization. I mean, you guys sent Bradley to the majors. How much more is it in the brains of these guys than some of the other organizations you've seen? Of you can go from San Antonio to San Diego.
Well, you just said it. David Morgan as well. 2 guys from this level. I think this is my 3rd year here. My 6th guy from AA straight there. And these guys know it. You've been in this organization long enough. It's just my 3rd. With the Padres and working with AJ Preller and Stein and our front office. Some of these guys have been in the organization longer than I have. They see it. They understand the moves. The biggest thing, they understand our pitching. They want pitching. They're looking for starting pitching, So for us to sit here and say that they don't pay attention to that would be, a crock. But those guys understand it. They know what they can do. We've actually expressed that and talked to them like, you just need to go out and dominate and be the best that you could be on the mound and let the rest of the stuff take care of it. The phone's going to ring when they're ready for you up there, If there's a trade, that's going to happen and take care of itself. But let's go to the mound. Let's play the baseball game by you taking your best ability, your best arsenal, your best stuff, and going to the mound and just dominating, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned the amount of guys you've gotten to tell that too about going up. Maybe the most experienced guy in AA do that. What is your strategy on telling the guy you got the call?
I've had a couple different ones. Just knock on wood so far. It seems like all of them have been. I'm a real big manager. I like to do it out loud in the locker room. We've had a couple. I did Jackson Wolf, who was around minor league baseball for a little bit. It wasn't, that long, but Jackson Wolf was my first. got to do it in the locker room in Frisco. Then we had Alec Jacob and a few other guys as we went down the road. I like the whole room to see it. A lot of managers want to go in their office, and I feel like for me, the minute you call that young kid who's maybe close, maybe, some guys might be caught off guard, but you call them in your office, close the door, set up a camera. I sense that those guys it starts resonating in their head, and maybe this and maybe that, and I could be totally wrong, but I like to walk in the locker room and maybe just have a speech, have a story, and catch the whole room off guard, and so I, 2 call-ups this year were both over the telephone. Picked up the phone, called David Morgan, picked up the phone and called Bradley Rodriguez, and both of them were completely off guard. Both of them were, Skip, you're fooling me, right? Skip, this is a joke. It was great to hear from David Morgan, like, Skip, you're messing with me, so, just to hear their express, Bradley Rodriguez was full of tears and excitement, so that's the pleasure of a manager being able to do that.
Yeah, how much do you take from your first experience? We were called up by the Nats in 08. Was that when it was? Like, how much do you remember that and try to translate that to your players?
Oh, gosh. It was just unbelievable to get that phone call from Jim Bowen, as I just made my drive home from AAA saying, hey, we're going to purchase your contract and bring you up to the big leagues. I don't think that'll ever leave my ears, having that phone to my head. And I tell you the truth, I threw my cell phone about 15 feet in the air as soon as I pressed the end button, So very cool, very blessed for that opportunity. And that's why I do what I do now, and very thankful for the seat that I'm in. And that's the message these guys get from me, is understanding that's what each and every one of you guys are here to do. That's the goal. You guys are, you're not here to play AA baseball and tell your mom, dad, grandparents you are. And if that's your highest ceiling and that's going to be it, you just make sure you put your head down on a pillow and give it everything you got to give yourself a chance to be a Major League Baseball player. So when you get the opportunity to tell that young man he's going up and tell him to go call their family, it's just a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to manage some pretty special guys like Jackson Merrill, obviously, but going back to the Sox system, I know you had Roman Anthony for all 10 games, but Marcelo Meyer that same summer. What stands out about those guys and like those guys who rise to the top?
Yeah, special group, very special. And you look back at the Red Sox days with the guys that I had, and you go from Ceddanne Rafaela, who's in the big leagues now, Marcelo Meyer, the Blaze Jordan, Nick Yorks, that Roman, that whole group, you look up at AAA. I keep up with a lot of those guys, and Nathan Hickey and Nico Cavadas, just guys spread out everywhere, just, and having Jackson Merrill here with the Padres, the biggest guy we got now, our star center fielder, and not just for the Padres, but in Major League Baseball, it's just, you ask the question of what stand. I mean, there's when you get to this level, you have a lot of talent, right? But you could just see firsthand the gifted talent of some of the very special. And when you look at the game, there's a lot of talented guys in Major League Baseball. There's only so many superstars, or there's only so many of that tier that are the next tier, and that's the kind of guys you're talking about. You're seeing the young. Marcelo, who's very young in the big leagues. You're seeing that Roman Anthony, who's very young. You're seeing Jackson Merrill, what he did, losing by a couple votes to Paul Skeens in the Rookie of the Year. So just having those guys around and watching their careers has been awesome. But Sam, it makes it real special for the rest of the guys. The players even kind of know. I mean, Jackson came rehab with us for 3 games early in the year, and if I could express or just. It's almost like he was a part of our AA locker room, just what he meant to be here, what he meant to these guys. These are all his friends. This is his age, and that's what makes him so special. That's what makes these guys really go out and understand that, man, that's our guy. That's our, he wanted to win every ball game that he was here, and I got a chance, right? I got a chance to go out and do what I can do, and that's what you're seeing from this group right now today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned before, too, just like trades are going to take care of themselves. This is an aggressive organization for trades. We're coming up on July. You've been through a few of those now. What is it like being in the locker room around that time in this org?
Yeah, I think you said it correct. I mean, I was with the Red Sox where we had a couple. I had some younger ones at the younger level. A big one. I got to tell a young man that he was traded straight up for Kyle Schwarber my last year, maybe in Salem. And what that meant. The tears that you got. Maybe the little bit of loss, and not understanding at first. The kid was a Boston Red Sox from start to low 8 ball, but when we got to express that, big guy, you were traded for Kyle Schwarber straight up. Now you're going to go to the Nationals organization and be their top guy, whatever, be one of their top prospects. It took him a second, but in this organization, like you just said it, you see it. I mean, we're super aggressive, So the thing that I try to help these young guys with and players with, and they ask questions, they get it, like, Skip, what would it be like? What is it like? Blah, blah, blah. Do you really care that you're going to go call your mom, dad, your career is you're going to go be a big leaguer for the Pittsburgh Pirates, or you're going to go be a big leaguer for the Miami Marlins or whatnot, So I think they get caught up sometimes with their friendship. The emotions get involved in it. Like, this is all I know is the Padres. Well, there's 29 other teams out there, So the most that I can help as as an ex-player and a guy that's been through it and done it, and now as their managers, just giving that advice. The biggest thing is probably myself and all managers is don't play GM. Don't try to do it. The minute you try to play GM and look over your shoulder and look this way, you get yourself caught in the roots that you don't want to be in. So we seen it last year. Traded Jacob Marcy and Nathan Morella right in the middle of a minor league baseball game. So these guys know it. I hear them talk about it. Robbie Snelling was almost telling me, this was crazy, that he was being traded. Like, Skip, I'm going to get traded, and it's just like, hey, man, you've been here long enough. You know it. I'm not going to argue. Boom, I get a phone call that, hey, Robbie's just been traded to the Marlins, So just try to be that support, that help system, like, go be a big leaguer wherever you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we touched on a few of the standouts. Has there been anybody you feel like is going to surprise people on this roster, or who has really taken a step forward beyond Valenzuela's and Haynes's?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of guys. You look at our arms. You look at there's a lot of arms on this team that we talked about, the Jagger Haynes, the Brennan Nets.
Yeah.
You talk about the bullpen guys that we've already called up, and David Morgan and Bradley Rodriguez. So you got a young 22 Romeo Sanabria at first base who great bat to ball skill. The guy can hit. He's 22, 23 years old. There's still a lot of growth there. Defensively wise, first of all, offense still has a lot of improvement, but a guy that's doing that in Double-A already, just showing you that there could be a real high ceiling. We got plenty of arms behind those guys. Victor Lizarraga, who was here last year at 21 years old, who pitched very well in this league, coming off a little small arm ache or whatever, nothing that should set him back. Just a guy that, what's his ceiling? What's he going to go out and do? And knowing the competitive guy that he is, and Victor knew what he did last summer. Skip, I can go out and do that again this year, and I'm going to grow and get better, So just a bunch of guys that have a chance to go out there and compete and give it everything they got to, make their way up to San Diego or be a big trade trip come July.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right, that's all I had for you.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, it's me, Ben Hill, aka Ben's Biz. I am in Knoxville, Tennessee, home of the Knoxville Smokies. I saw a game at brand new to me, Covenant Health Ballpark last night on Tuesday. It is now Wednesday, and I'll be back there again for tonight's game against the Birmingham Barons. This is my first new ballpark that I've visited since 2022, and it is one of 4 new ballparks to open in the 2025 season, along with Spartanburg, that I will be visiting on this trip, and Columbus, the Clingstones, that I will be also visiting on this trip. And 3 new ballparks over the course of 6 days, 2 games in each. So I'll have plenty more to talk about from this trip. But for now, first impressions of Covenant Health Ballpark. If you recall, the Smokies used to be the Tennessee Smokies, and they played in nearby Sevierville, or actually, no, scratch that, Kodak, which is near Sevierville, which is near Pigeon Forge, which is the home of Dollywood. They're now about 20 minutes away in downtown Knoxville proper, technically Old Town Knoxville, a section of downtown that the ballpark is part of a larger redevelopment of. So I'm here staying in downtown on South Gay Street, which is right in the heart of Knoxville. That iconic theater with the big Tennessee sign is right down the street from where I'm staying. And the ballpark's about a half-mile walk, kind of down a hill into old downtown And it's an interesting ballpark, its location. There are apartment buildings on both sides being built. I think they're just starting to lease the units. Not a lot of people in there yet, but it's all part of the standard. Ballpark is an anchor of larger development. The Smokies owner, Randy Boyd, owns quite a bit of the land around the ballpark, so everything's tied together that way. In right field and the outfield, in left field and the outfield, there's a greenway and a bike path, so you can take your bike to the game. There's also a bridge on the outfield concourse on the left field side that goes over a canal that runs behind the outfield fence. So it's an interesting situation where you have the outfield fence and then a canal, and then the concourse behind that. And as you walk around the outfield concourse, you cross a little ballpark bridge over the canal down the third to get to the third base side and head back toward home plate. So cool architectural elements such as that. A lot of history displays throughout the ballpark, or statues at least, celebrating different eras of Knoxville baseball history, because Knoxville was home to minor league baseball going back 100 years, and the Knoxville Smokies played there through 1999 when they moved to Kodak and became the Tennessee Smokies. So this new Knoxville ballpark is a return of the Knoxville Smokies and a return of minor league baseball to Knoxville proper. Anyhow, I talked to Knoxville Smokies president Chris Allen when I was at the ball game yesterday to learn more about the new ballpark. And let's transition now to my interview with him to learn more about Covenant Health Park, the home of the Knoxville Smokies, the first stop on my 3 new ballparks visit, headed to see the Hub City Spartanburgers and then the Columbus Clingstones after this. So stay tuned for much more, but first here's Smokies president Chris Allen for more about the Smokies' new ballpark. So Chris Allen, president?
Yep, president.
Of the Tennessee Smokies. I started off wrong already.
Hey, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Chris Allen, president of the Knoxville Smokies, the newly rechristened Knoxville Smokies. At new Covenant Health Ballpark. I know getting a ballpark built is always a saga.
Yes.
How long, going back to the first seeds of this project, did it take to then have an opening day here in 2025?
Honestly, it's been discussed ever since Randy bought the team in, my first year, 2012. But it really heated up about 5-6 years ago is when things heated up, and then of course obviously the last 3 years have been a whirlwind. So but nonstop for 3 years at least.
Yeah, so there's a lot to consider. I mean, probably very high on the list, location.
Yes.
What eventually led you to downtown, or is it called Old Downtown?
Old City.
Old City.
Well, our owner, he's obviously a Knoxville native, and he has a soft spot in his heart for the Old City. He owns a lot of property around here. He has some other businesses, and it's just kind of he's taken it upon himself to revitalize the Old City, and the story behind it between, with of course the Knoxville Giants that had played around this area years ago, and just the dynamics of the political and financial discussions in this area for years, how this was kind of a deprived area years ago when things started changing. It's just he's taken it upon himself to try to rebuild this area and revive it, and I think it's working. I mean, our attendance is up, even the fact that we pulled our tarp 44 times already this year, and our attendance is still up a considerable amount. Now granted, yes, brand new ballpark, you expect that to happen, but man, it's I think that we got some great days ahead of us. I really do. And it's community. I mean, you've got great apartment complex right over here to our left field side. I mean, I was over there. As a matter of fact, my son has an apartment over there. I was checking out his apartment the other day, and it's a great setup they've got over there. This is going to be an area that's really going to boom. You couple that with the fact the University of Tennessee is constantly looking for more housing. It's spreading out farther and farther. This is a great area for the young folks to take up residence, and as retail outlets and things continue to pop up. I think the Old City is is going to thrive for many years to come.
What about this ballpark architecturally? There's some unique elements I saw walking around, and the unique location with the bridge over the canal and the greenway and the bike path. What are some of your favorite aspects of the design of this facility?
You know what I think? I love the bridge. I love the bridge right in dead center field. I call it the First Bank Bridge because that's the sponsor of it, but it's over the First Creek. I love that look. I love the fact that, there's really not another ballpark in the country that looks anything like ours. So I like the character that our ballpark has. We got the water tower over in right field by the Modelo watering hole, which is a great look and kind of a playoff of water tower. It's almost in the same area that the original water tower was at before everything got torn down and rebuilt. So I love the just a history of something like that here, and the fact that our club is right behind home plate. You got a great view. You're on top of the action. We moved the press box down to first base line a little bit. Our folks in the press box are not happy about that, but they understand. Look, you want to give the fans who are paying the money the best seats in the house, and that's what I think we've done here. We've got so many unique group sales areas. I mean, the ballpark there's more unique experiences here than just walking into the ballpark and buying a ticket, buying a hot dog and a beer and sitting in your seat watching the game. Fans don't want that anymore. That's so 1990, right? They want a unique experience. They want to try unique food items, and they want to do it in cool settings, something that you just can't get every day. And we've got a lot of unique areas out like that about the ballpark, I think, anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of 1990 or the 90s in general, that was the last time that Knoxville proper had a minor league baseball team, and a lot of baseball history in Knoxville. So in what ways have you incorporated the long history of baseball in Knoxville into this facility?
One unique thing is our public address announcer was our PE announcer in Kodak, and he also was at Bill Meyer Stadium before he went to Kodak. So George Yardley has handled the public address announcing at the three most recent pro ballparks in this area, which is kind of a cool thing. And George, we did bobblehead of him last year, and Eris has done a great job really promoting George, and fans have gotten he's a character. You'll meet him, I'm sure. He's a true character. So he's a unique thing. He's one of those guys that every ballpark has their characters. He's one of them here for us. So that's to me that's one of the coolest things about implementing that. We got right field area, Modelo watering hole. We kind of refer to that as kind of the KJ corner for the KJs that used to be here when they were a Blue Jays affiliate years ago. Obviously, you can't go wrong with adding the Knoxville Giants. We have a lot of their merchandise in our team store, and that's the old Negro League team that played in this area, probably close to 100 years ago. So it's a lot of history. Knoxville's got a lot of baseball history. I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but Babe Ruth and Ted Williams and all those guys played through the Knoxville area years ago, which is, to me, I mean, what's more historic than having someone like Babe Ruth play in your backyard? So, to me, it's a history-rich for sports in general. I mean, you take UT over here; they got one of the best baseball teams in the country. College sports in general is so strong in this area, so the fans are very knowledgeable sports fans here. So that's probably the thing I've enjoyed the most since I've lived here, is Tennesseans are very knowledgeable of their sports. So, and baseball, having the success with the college team has brought on more fans. I mean, we've seen with their success, our success has grown too. So a lot of people thought we'd be concerned about that, man. I embrace that,
Yeah, absolutely. And so this relocation wasn't much of a relocation distance-wise. You were in Kodak, which is what, 20?
It's 25? Actually from this ballpark to the old ballpark is 17 minutes. I've driven it a million times.
Yeah, I bet you have. So yeah, only 17 minutes away. So obviously a decent chunk of the fan base is the fan base you had before. But do you see the demographic of the fan base changing based on this location versus the last one?
Yeah. I mean, 65% of our fan base came from West Knoxville already, so they were having to drive an additional 17 minutes to the old ballpark. But I've noticed we still have many of them coming here, and we have a much larger, younger demographic, young professional fan base now than we had before. Our fan base is way more diverse. See a lot more minorities coming to our ballpark here, and I think that's great too. So yes, it's been a little bit of a change, but you still got a lot of the old and a lot of the new too. So it's good. It's worked out well for us.
Yeah, and so you spent over a decade at the old ballpark. It was just a Smoky Stadium.
Smoky Stadium. Yeah, never had a naming rights there.
Yeah. What do you miss about that, or were you kind of happy to leave it behind at that point?
No. Look, we had a great run there, and I tell people this all the time. I mean, it's like the old saying, a bird in the hand's better than two in the bush. Well, we just let the bird go and dove in the bush to go after the other birds. But because our best year financially ever was the last year there. Attendance-wise, it was as strong as any year we ever had. We were. It's not like we were in an old ballpark and we were struggling to keep the business afloat. We were thriving at the old ballpark. So a lot of people said, well, why would you ever leave? Well, thriving there was good, but what we can do here can blow that away, and we've already seen the numbers. Our numbers are far superior than what it was in Kodak. So our great year here is going to far exceed our great year there, and it's just you go where the people are. There's more people in Knoxville. There's more sports fans here, and this is where our people were coming from anyway to our games. So, but you know what I'm going to miss the most about that ballpark is the location. It was about 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
and working with all the city folks there. I mean, they were a great community to work with. I'm speaking at Dennis Snyder. He's was in charge of the stadium authority there. He's retiring, so I'm speaking at his retirement party Friday. So I miss those guys, but I got develop all new friendships here and relationships. So it's just starting all over is what it is, really.
I guess last thing, this is the first year of the new ballpark, and in 10 years, where would you like to see things in terms of how this ballpark is operating, how the area around it is developed? What do you see as the factors for growth?
Well, yeah, in 10 years from now, I think you'll see the development. You'll see the development part of the project. You'll see what that is. I mean, all these retail spaces that are being built now will be full. The apartments will be full. Condos will have owners. There'll be additional retail spaces popping up. The land value through here has quadrupled in value, if not more than that. So you're going to see other restaurants, other retail outlets, things pop up. This whole area, you won't recognize this area 10 years from now if you look back 3 or 4 years and drive down through here. I mean, trust me, I did it. I remember when Randy purchased the land and we drove down here and started looking at this, I'm thinking, wow, we got a lot of work to do. But I do think so far it's been a win. And I'm excited to see where the development goes. It's the one thing about Randy and his company developing the whole area along with the baseball stadium. We've been pretty much involved in the Delaney building and Yardley Flats and the whole project here. And it's the dynamics of that has been a great learning experience for me. But really, it's when you have your hands in all of that, and I'm just one of many hands. You have the ability to help shape that. And 10 years from now, this ballpark and this area is going to be developed because of the many people that worked hard on the original development of this area. And Randy Boyd should be very proud of himself 10 years from now, I think. So,
cool. Well, looking forward to seeing how it all develops. And
yeah, I will be glad when I can come to my office and have a phone call in the middle of the day and not hear electric tools going on off in front above me or hearing a jackhammer somewhere. I will say this, hopefully between now and the next 10 years we can get rid of that godforsaken train that goes off every 5 minutes. That damn train goes off nonstop out there.
Yeah, maybe you'll be pulling a little less tarp.
Yeah, by then, hopefully we will pull less tarp. I mean, I don't pull it now anymore. I kind of retired from that. I can't do that anymore. I'm too old and too fat to do it.
Well, in those words.
I guess I'll jump out there if I need to. But we got a huge staff. I mean, that's the cool thing that I've seen since I've been here. When I got here, this company had 12 employees.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got in excess of 50 total employees with 6 total operations. I mean, we've grown quite a bit, and it's because we've got a lot of good people trying to push the ball forward every day, and to me that's exciting. So
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Cool.
I hope I gave you something you can work with.
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Thanks so much.
Nice try. If not.
This episode is brought to you by Subaru. Go further in a long-range Subaru hybrid. with up to 597 miles per tank in the Crosstrek Hybrid and up to 581 miles per tank in the Forester Hybrid. Subaru. Love goes the extra mile. Visit Subaru.com/hybrid to learn more. Range based on EPA estimated combined fuel economy and a full tank of fuel. Actual mileage and range may vary.
All right, wrapping up here from the show before the show. It's just me again, but we're going to call that the version of Ben's Biz Banter brought to you by Circle K. It's a slightly different version this week, but we'll have Ben back next week to check in and on how his trip has gone and what it was like to see some of those new ballparks. So that'll always be fun. It's great when Ben gets to check out new places, and I like the way he's done it this time with 2 days and giving him some opportunities to stretch out the legs, make sure there's no stone unturned at each of these places. I got to see Knoxville last year. I went to visit the Tennessee Smokies when they were still playing in Kodak, but I got to see the new stadium as it was being built. That's the first time I've ever done that, is watch a new stadium being built around you. So Ben and I will have to trade some notes next week and what I saw being put in place and what he's seen as the final version. So tune in next week for more of that discussion. As promised, again, we're not going to really do a name that dude, but we will revisit the minor league career of Luke Montz because, like I said, he started out in 2003 and played all the way through to 2015. So he stuck around the minors for a good long while. Luke Montz was drafted by the Montreal Expos. So put that in certain context. Drafted by the Montreal Expos in the 17th round of the 2003 draft out of Hill College in Hillsboro, Texas. He began his career with the Expos Gulf Coast League affiliate there in 2003 at just 19 years old. 2004, played for Brevard County, the Manatees, which were then a high A affiliate in the Florida State League. Also the Vermont Expos, not the Lake Monsters just yet, but the Vermont Expos. Played most of the year in the New York Penn League with Vermont. Did get one game with Brevard County, but that was the New York Penn League that year. Hit 10 homers in 62 games for Vermont. 2005 goes to Savannah with the Sand Gnats in the South Atlantic League. 2006 with Potomac. So these are a lot of, if you've been a recent minor league baseball fan, you might not have heard a lot of these places. If you followed minor league baseball for 10 plus years, these are all fairly familiar to you, but not teams currently within the minor league baseball structure. So Potomac, 131 games with them. In 2006, 16 homers. 2007 splits his time between Potomac and Harrisburg. There's a team that's currently within the minor league baseball structure and still the AA affiliate for the Washington Nationals. The Nationals became the Nationals in 2005. So he went from being an Expos prospect to a Nats prospect in 2005. 2007 was with Harrisburg. 2008 split time between Harrisburg and Columbus with the Clippers, then a Washington affiliate. Makes his debut with the Nationals in 2008, gets in 10 games with them. Not great success, but gets that cup of coffee, something you heard about in our interview there a few minutes ago. 2009, again, goes back to Harrisburg sometime with Syracuse, then the Syracuse Chiefs. 2010 joins the Mets organization with time at St. Lucie and Binghamton. Only played 44 games there in 2010. 2011 goes to Jacksonville, now the Florida Marlins affiliate, the Jacksonville Suns, who are a AA club at the time. Now they are AAA, but 2011 they were AA. 2012 he's still in the Marlins system with the New Orleans Zephyrs. Hits 29 homers. That's a career high for him in 123 games with the New Orleans Zephyrs. 2013, he's with Sacramento in the then Oakland A's system. Plays 33 games for the Sacramento River Cats. Goes back to the majors for the first time. This is his age 29 season. Plays 13 games for Oakland. Also gets in some time in the Arizona Complex League just as a rehabber. And then 2015 plays for Pawtucket. 48 games in the Red Sox system and then does not appear again in minor league baseball. His first managerial gig, as we were talking about before, was in the Red Sox system. He managed Lowell in 2019, led them to a 42-34 record, jumped up to Single A Salem in 2021, was back with Salem in 2022, and then he's been with San Antonio for 3 consecutive seasons. Winning record overall for Luke Montz, standing at 349 and 322. So that's a career winning percentage of 520. So definitely a career minor leaguer. I think that came across in our interview. You can kind of hear he's somebody who has been in that position. He's played catcher, first base, left field, played all over, knows what it's like to be a guy at AA, both as a prospect and somebody who's kind of like organizational depth. So he can speak to both sides of the locker room in that sense. And I think that works really well as a managerial guy, and really enjoyed my conversation with Luke from San Antonio. Otherwise, that'll do it for us on the show before the show this week. Again, Ben will be back next week. We'll chat more about his trip. I'll be chatting about everything else that's going on with prospects. Tyler is editing this from Europe as we speak. So thanks to him for all his work on that. Thanks to you for tuning in, and we'll catch you soon here on the show before the show.